Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 456 of the MTGGoldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here this week, kicking things off with the owner of MTGGoldfish, Richard. How are you this fine Monday, Richard?
Good morning, Seth. Like I was telling you guys, I went to sleep at 9 p.m. I am refreshed. I am so refreshed.
I know your pain. Getting old. I do the same thing. I turn on the Sunday night football game. I'm going to watch it. And then at halftime, I fall asleep. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm so old. Krim, how are you this morning? Did you get a good night's sleep?
Well, I'm not gonna say I did, but I will say, I am freshly awake to some really good news.
Yeah, Krim was very asleep until he saw some news. He's like, whoa.
Yeah, there's some interesting, maybe, news that we're going to talk about that just kind of leaked out this morning. But anyways, the overview for our cast today, we want to talk a little bit more about draft boosters / play boosters. There's a kind of a conversation about what's wrong with Modern. And then, of course, we got Fallout spoilers. Also wanted to talk some Universes Beyond stuff, kind of some tier ranking of Universes Beyond, in part because of Fallout and in part because of some interesting leaked news that we'll get to in a little bit. But before we get into all of that, we have a sponsor today in Card Conduit, and Card Conduit's the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. And if you ever get tired of all the hassles that go into buy listing, Card Conduit lets you skip them. You can use their curated service and send in as many cards as you want with a buy list value of $1 or more and pay just a 5% service fee. And if you want to do a bit of work, you can use their sorted service where you list and sort your cards in advance and pay just a 2% fee. Either way, you're going to get a detailed report with the results and a fast payment once your order is processed. And you can even get another 10% off by heading over to cardconduit.com/MTGGoldfish. Card Conduit, they're the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. So thank you to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And let's talk some Magic. And let's start with these two kind of oddball topics before we get into all the Universes Beyond stuff. So number one, there's this quote that was a pretty big source of conversation over the past week. So last week we talked about set boosters, draft boosters going away, play boosters replacing them. So as this whole conversation was going on, there was a post from Mark Rosewater on Twitter that said, if we didn't do anything, draft boosters were going away. This whole change was to save drafting in other limited formats. So people picked up on this quote and it was like a big thing. Oh my God, they're trying to kill limited. Mark later clarified that what he meant was draft boosters were going to go away because of market forces. Essentially, apparently they weren't selling enough of them, so they were going to go away because of that, and it wasn't that they were actually trying to kill limited. Everyone loves limited. What do you make of this quote? Like, were draft boosters really so unpopular that they were going to just be deleted from the product line? Was WotC trying to kill limited?
Yes. WotC's fault. So, okay, this is like so stupid. Okay, so in the beginning, WotC had draft boosters, and then they invented set boosters and collector boosters. And when they invented set boosters, they told all the stores, they told everyone, you should market set boosters. Do not market draft boosters. They're for draft players or whatever. If someone comes into your store, they want to buy some Magic, set boosters is where they're at, right? And it apparently worked, right? Over time, set boosters became the default, but that was like totally WotC's strategy. So if they turn around, they're like, well, no one's buying draft boosters anymore. You're like, well, that was your plan and it worked. So congratulations. So I don't buy this, right? So they wanted to kill draft, or they wanted to kill the draft booster. Maybe they didn't understand that if they killed the draft booster, draft would be killed along with it. That seems like a logical conclusion they should have reached, but they wanted this. They wanted set boosters to succeed, and they did. And now draft boosters are gone. So well done, Wizards. I don't know. They did it.
That's kind of where I'm at. Like, I don't think they set out to kill limited. They actually said, like, I guess it's up to you whether you believe them or not, because, you know, PR, corporate speak, all that stuff. But they said that wasn't the goal. And I think I believe that wasn't the goal. I know that they did push set boosters very, very hard when they came out. So I think maybe it's just bad planning. We've talked before about WotC's like internal communication not being very good. So it seems realistic to me that like marketing would be pushing set boosters really hard because they cost a little more and they're more profitable. and they didn't really connect with organized play or whatever, that, oh my god, if this like super takes off and draft boosters die, then limited's kind of like screwed, and then they had to scramble and try to fix it. But I think you're very right that it like this did happen because of choices WotC made, right? They chose to kind of minimize draft boosters and push set boosters, and now they have to figure out a way out of it. Hopefully it's a good way out of it with play boosters, but I guess we spent most of last week's cast on play boosters, so if you want a big breakdown of play boosters, check that out. What do you think, Grim? Like, is limited on the way out? Was it on the way out before this change?
Was it on? Was it? It had to be in before it was on its way out, right? Like, like, hold on. Sorry. What is a draft? Like, what the hell is a draft?
Drafted. They would buy their booster box for, you know, the cards, and like, oh, I have this box, I might as well draft with some friends, and that was always a thing, right? Tomer drafts. I know Tomer actually like buys his boxes and drafts with them.
I'm curious how popular limited, like, you go to LGSs on occasion, Krim, right? I live in the boonies, so I don't have LGSs close. Like, is drafting a big thing at LGSs? Do you go to a LGS and people are just like hanging out, firing draft pods, or is everyone playing Commander or like whatever?
So again, like, I will be honest, right? Okay, like, yes. Obviously, I think draft does exist. I think somebody plays it. And the point here is a lot of people actually do. It's actually one of the few events that you can say consistently probably would fire, right? Like constructed events, like, you know, Standard, Pioneer, all these things. These are on and off, right? But my LGS, the one thing you will always see is that there is going to be some kind of limited event going. So it gets, like, you know, jokes aside, I do think it gets worse now a little bit. It's going to be a little bit harsher if it's a little more expensive. But other than that, I mean, I think this is I actually do, outside of the price change, I think the consolidation of everything actually is a good thing. Yeah. And yes, draft boosters are that unpopular, because why would you ever buy it, right? Like, and now it's like, hey, check it out. I have an additional rare that I can't force into my Dimir deck. So, like, you know, like this is, I don't know. I think this is actually good. I think this is believe it or not, I do think this is a good thing.
Wait, good thing for draft players or good thing for Magic players?
I think it's a good thing for draft players.
Okay.
Outside of the price increase.
Yeah. So I would say that this is very similar to 60 card formats, or like, say, Standard, right? Like, Wizards never sat down in a meeting and said, we're going to kill Standard. Like, that's the plan, right? Like, they never did that. They never said that we're going to kill Limited. But what they've done is they made a bunch of choices to cater to, say, Commander players, right? And those choices have led to the decline of Standard, to the decline of Modern, and to the decline of Limited now. So while, yes, they're not explicitly killing these formats, they are not helping them, and they are putting all their resources into Commander, and then these other formats have to bear the consequences. So, like, I think that would be an accurate interpretation of what they're doing, and they're not, you know, and there's, you know, some team of like 5 Standard players in WotC, like, oh no, we gotta save Standard, right? And they try their best to save Standard, but then you have like 400 people working on Commander, and like they get outvoted, like similar to Limited, right? I'm sure there are a bunch of Limited champions at WotC trying to save Limited, and like this is the best they can muster up because the whole company is like all in on, you know, Secret Lair, Universes Beyond, Commander, etc.
I will also say, even though I like play boosters for Limited personally, the overall feedback from Limited players that play a lot has actually been negative to us. So I was actually surprised, because my gut take was like, oh, this will be fun to open more rares. And then a lot of the like heavy drafters are like, I hate rares. Rares ruin my experience. So it's been like actually like a negative reaction from the super hardcore, like I draft, you know, whatever, 40 hours a week streamer crowd of Limited. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out in the end. Well, next up, speaking of issues in Magic, there was a post on Reddit that I thought was interesting, and it was about what is actually the problem with Modern right now. And the title of the post was, Up a Beanstalk Should Be Left Alone, The Evoke Elementals Are the Problem. So that title actually kind of sums up the argument. Up a Beanstalk's fine, the Evoke Elementals are what's making it broken. I'm curious, what do you think is actually the issue with Modern? Is it the Evoke Elementals? Is it Up a Beanstalk wondering like the card advantage engines? Is it Cascade? I think Cascade is like a dark horse that doesn't get talked about enough as being like a mechanic that ends up exacerbating a lot of these issues. What do you think the actual issue is? Like, if there was something one thing you could do to fix Modern as much as you could with one change, what would you put your finger on for that change? What would it be?
Like, I've been saying that I feel like Modern is lost. And I will continue to say that, and there's so many reasons why. But yeah, like I don't think Up the Beanstalk is like the catalyst of all this. I think there's many things that have combined together, and a lot of it just comes from the fact that Modern Horizons and all the free spells and everything, just like it's like this is gonna sound bad. I know I'm not allowed to say this, so you can yell at me now, the internet. Modern is just Yu-Gi-Oh now. Modern is actually just Yu-Gi-Oh. Like everybody.
Yu-Gi-Oh. What does this mean?
Yeah, no. But the thing here is, Modern is one player plays Yu-Gi-Oh while the other person brings a Magic deck, right? And
okay.
So I don't like that, right? The problem here is only the elementals, the evoke elementals, gets to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and then everyone else is like, and I brought my Magic deck. Check this out. So I think there's too many for a game that has a resource system. This whole archetype ignores resources, except for maybe the cards in their hand, right? So yeah, but this is where Beanstalk comes in. This is the part 2 of it. Well, now there's no cost because they're actually not going down cards, right? They're just going up cards, and heaven forbid they have multiple. And now, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not upset about one thing though. That stash of Elder Deep Fiends I've had, hey, those are, that card is like actually like picking up steam right now, because Elder Deep Fiend being able to just flash it, emerge it in with the ETBs on the stack of the elementals.
That actually does sound sweet,
right? Like it's like, dude, there's so, and then on top of that also triggers the Beanstalk. So
Krim, you got to ban one of those things. Do you ban Beanstalk or do you ban the elementals? Like you
ban the elementals.
Okay, you ban the
elementals.
So you would agree with the post then that Up a Beanstalk, not the actual problem. The elementals are the problem, and Beanstalk is just taking advantage of the elementals' power, essentially.
Yes.
What do you think, Richard? Is it Up a Beanstalk?
So
I
played a lot
something
of
else?
Up the Beanstalk this week, and the
That
deck
is
is disgusting on so many levels. And there's two things, right? So Krim talks about cost reduction, right? This is, if you just made the cards cost what you actually pay to play them, everything would work out, right? Because if the elementals had a 0 on top and they were appropriately tuned for a 0 cost, things would be good, right? But we've seen this problem in all of Magic, like literally all of Magic, right? Phyrexian mana. What was wrong with it, right? You had cost reduction on life, and WotC didn't balance it correctly, right? Like if you paid too much life, card is unplayable. If you paid too much life, card is insane, right? And you had the mental misstep problems. So we're like, oh, well, what about like Graveyard as a resource? Well, Delve, right? Treasure Cruise, Dig Through Time, all that crap is broken too, right? Because you're like, oh, we'll just use Graveyard as a substitute for mana. And then people surely can't figure out how to abuse this. And then they figure out how to fill up the graveyard real fast, and then bam, right? So with elementals, it's like, okay, you pitch a card. Surely that's fair. Force of will, right? People have such good card advantage nowadays that it's ridiculous that it doesn't matter, and that you actually draw cards off your free spells. It's like 0 mana, Ancestral Recall, Swords your thing. And you're like, what the heck just happened, right? But here's why this deck is so disgusting. Cascade is the other thing that Seth hinted at. If you have a 2 mana sideboard card for your matchup, you're good to go. Right? Like you put 4 of those in your deck, right? You now effectively have 12 targets to get to it. So you can cascade with Bloodbraid Elf and Charlotte's Agent. So, they play Mnemonic Betrayal, which like lets you cast a creature from the other person's deck. Hilarious. You play Tron, you play Titan, you play anything, they cannot win, right? Because you're like, I have like literally a billion sideboard cards for you that are like backbreaking for your deck, and I'm just gonna get them every single game. So you better beat me before that. And these decks just can't handle it. So Cascade is broken because, again, Cascade is a mana cheating thing. Like Rhinos, you're supposed to suspend. But what happens if you don't suspend them? They just come out and it's kind of broken, right? So cost reduction. They just got to remove all cost reduction from the game and make cards cost what you actually, use to play the cards, and everything will be fine. Like if you actually played 5 drops with Up the Beanstalk, it's fine.
Yeah. Oh,
You're like,
that would
Up the
actually
Beanstalk's Rag Tusk? Like, go for it.
Yes. Oh.
Go for it. You're good, right?
So you would be also looking at Evoke Elementals then as being the real problem. And also Cascade maybe too, to a lesser extent.
Well, Up the Beanstalk is in one deck.
Yep.
Evoke Elementals are literally the entire format. Every archetype, every deck is running Elementals, right? It's like the fake standard diversity, right? Oh, you can play any deck you want in Modern as long as you run Evoke Elementals. And then, you can build around them however you want, and you can build control, aggro, combo, whatever with Evoke Elementals.
I don't know how we get out of this issue, but I also agree that it's the free spells that are the real issue. Like, Up a Beanstalk should be an okay card. Like when I first saw it, I wasn't even that impressed with the card. But after you actually play with it in the context of Modern, of these Evoke Elementals and Leyline Bindings and Cascade to tutor up consistently, it's an obscene card in that context. So I feel like, how do we get out of this problem though? Like you can't get rid of all the Evoke Elementals and all the Cascade cards. Like how do we move forward from here is what my big concern is. Do you just errata them? Do you ban them? Like, they're always going to be there unless you do something, right?
That's 8 cards. If you want to evoke Muldrifter, go for it, right? Yeah. But you take the 5 Modern Horizons cards, you take the, like how many, we have like 3-4 Cascade spells that are actually played. Like you could, like if there was just one, like Bloodbraid Elf, whatever, right? Like remove all the 3 mana ones.
Yep.
And there you go. Like just like we have determined that Dredge should never be allowed to exist, we will determine that Cascade should never be allowed to exist, and then we'll just ban the elemental cycles because that was just a mistake.
And I think Wizards has to just be aware of the older formats. Like Up a Beanstalk, in the context of Standard or Draft, is great, but like Evoke Elementals, Leyline Binding, like even a card like Leyline Binding, which in Standard is a good removal spell that is probably healthy to exist and rewards you for playing all the colors. In Modern, it becomes like pretty overpowered in the context of the format where it's like 1 mana, but actually it's 6 mana, so you can still Cascade and play it and like cheat on the mana cost. So I hope Wizards is more aware of making mana cost matter in the future, because I think that's a big part of what the current problem with Modern is just like mana costs not mattering the way they should. But let's move on. Like, go ahead.
Everyone's playing Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, sort of.
I want to try Yu-Gi-Oh! Now. It's kind of funny. But if you're not familiar with Modern or Up the Beanstalk deck, right? Like, Commandeer is a playable card and very good in Modern.
Pitch just spiked to like $30.
Take a spell, 7 mana is playable because you're just going nuts with Up the Beanstalk and drawing cards or stuff like that, right? So that's how ridiculous we are. Like a 7-drop is playable because you actually draw from Up the Beanstalk too. So it's like a card draw spell.
I played the deck. I played the deck this week. A video is going to be going up on the YouTube because you were telling me just like how busted it was, and I heard other people saying crazy things about like Up a Beanstalk better than the One Ring and all this stuff. So I had to find out for myself, and my God, that deck's absolutely, it's absurd. To the point where I think they actually might have to do something about it at some point. Like, I think it's actually possible this is the deck that puts it over the top for the Elementals or the Cascade or something. Although, knowing WotC, it's probably like they actually ban Up a Beanstalk. Because they're like, we don't want to bind 5 Mythic, so let's just ban Up a Beanstalk, and we'll pretend like this doesn't matter until it gets broken again in 3 months.
Don't forget Leyline Binding. Leyline Binding can't get out from this either, right? Yeah. Like, 6 mana, which is actually just 1 mana, remove anything from the game, also keeps your Cascade deck in perfect harmony, right? Like it doesn't screw up your Cascade deck in any way. Ridiculous.
And then the deck like has 3 mana Teferi, so you like play the Teferi and bounce your Leyline Binding, knowing you're giving them the thing back because you're recasting to like draw 4 cards because you get all the Up a Bean. It's like my concern with the deck. I played the deck and it felt like I literally could not lose to opponents. My big worry was, oh my God, am I gonna mill out? That was because I'm trying to win with like Shardless Agents, and I got like 8 cards in my deck, and I'm like, oh God, like they have 40 cards in their deck, but I've drawn all my cards. Can I actually get lethal before I just run out of cards? That was the one thing that sort of kept the deck in check. But we got to move on to maybe one of the biggest announcements we've had in a while. So when we started the cast, there was this weird like rumor floating around. There was this article posted on Dicebreaker about Magic the Gathering Marvel Universes Beyond crossover. They had posted this article and then like deleted it a few minutes later, and we're like, what's going on? Well, now WotC has confirmed this. There is Marvel Universes Beyond. In the way they're describing this isn't a tentpole release. There are tentpole releases, plural. This is going to be a really, really huge, impactful, multiple sets, commander decks, multiple. Tentpole release was Lord of the Rings. That's what they consider a tentpole release. And they're talking about this as in multiple tentpole releases over the course of a period of time. So X-Men coming to Magic, right? Is that what this means? Is that the TLDR? How much does this matter? What do you guys think of this announcement?
10 sets for X-Men, baby.
What do you think?
Amazing, right? Crib, you're speechless. Finish up.
I don't actually think this is that cool. I'm just kidding.
You're like the Marvel Snap. The Marvel Snap.
I don't know. This is ruining my immersion. It's ruining. You know, like okay. I can't even like say this with a straight face. Yes, dude. Yes, dude. I mean, I'm gonna try to form a sentence here, but yeah, dude. This is everything, right? This is everything I ever wanted. This is honestly like I want this 50 times a year. I'm not even joking here. I love this. Marvel getting a set. I need one whole Doctor Strange line. I need the Eye of Agamotto as an equipment. I need everything. I want Dormammu, although my dog did look at me while I said that I have a dog named Thor. I dabble in Marvel. I don't care what they do at this point. As long as they just give me some amount of superheroes, this is huge. Also, holy hell, what does this mean for Magic? Right? Like you now have Spider-Man in your game? Yo, this is insane, right? Like whether you like Marvel or not, and I know that everybody's like, oh God, they're making 50 movies every week, which I'm like, hell yeah, they are. Like this is happening. It's real. It's so real. We have
to throw a disclaimer. We don't know that it's real yet, right? It was put
no. WotC has since confirmed. Since the podcast, there's an article on the Mothership that is saying
it's real
all
now.
this stuff.
It
is real. Yeah. It's in the Discord. Yep.
Very real.
Okay.
Also, I love the amount of people that have now texted me and added me. They're like, hey, yo, you up? And I'm like, yeah, I'm up. Oh, baby, I'm up right now.
Oh, they even have a little picture thing. Oh, wow.
There might be a video, actually. I haven't been able to watch it because we're in the podcast, but I believe there's a video, like teaser trailer that you can watch. So, yeah, it's official.
They got a cap shield right there. It's not like, okay, you get the D tier heroes from whatever comics we saw.
So they give us
straight to the cap.
They give us Stiltman. They give us the Wizard, the Great Lakes Avengers. This is where it's like they completely missed the mark. I'm like, what is this?
I have questions for you guys because you both really are into Marvel. I don't know what an X-Men is, so I'm on the outside. I have a couple of questions. Question number one is, does this surprise you at all? Because from the outside, I would assume the popularity of Marvel Snap might be like making Marvel view Wizards as a competitor. And I figured, well, maybe that makes it less likely that Magic actually gets this IP because they'd rather just, use their IP to make Marvel Snap as good as it could be. Does it surprise you at all to see this actually happening in a world of Marvel Snap?
Yes. This is, I think, what made it so... There's not just Marvel Snap, right? There's the fact that, Lorcana exists, right? And I know that Disney. Lorcana is Disney, but I know they want to keep it classic Disney IP. But anyways, sorry, I was just casually croaking. But yeah, I see Disney wanting to keep Marvel to themselves, right? And then Marvel Snap, another thing. So to see them still lend the IP out in the spaces where, I would consider, a small, tiny Magic game here, a direct competitor, right? That's why I just did not imagine them lending the IPs out. This is kind of nuts. This is something I daydreamed about and just never thought could happen.
Yeah, I'm less surprised about Marvel because Marvel's a very forward-thinking company, right? Like they're the ones that took comic books and made them cool, which comic books were like beyond dead when they started like all the
they
Marvel stuff,
actually
right?
were on the verge of bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Before the movies.
Wizards, on the other hand, this is a hot, relevant IP that's very expensive, right? So I'm surprised that Wizards had the foresight to shell out the money because this was going to cost them a pretty penny, right? And they went after something hot, unlike Doctor Who or something, like some like old thing, like Walking Dead or whatever, past its prime. Even Lord of the Rings is like 25-year-old since its last, hurrah or whatever, right? But, at least that's a classic. But I'm surprised Wizards was willing to put this investment in. So I'm very excited to see where this goes. Like can you imagine you go watch whatever Marvel movie flavor of the week is in the theaters, then you go home and play some Commander with all the characters and there's like so much crossover potential. And then you watch a Netflix series about whatever and like, there's just so much you can do here. And the showcase, oh my God, Krim, I know, like, oh my goodness.
Comic book
you know who invented variants? Like, come on, like, here we go, right?
Yeah,
like, we can get so much showcase art, secret layers, like, and they're gonna be so good. So I'm ready for this. I hope there's no weird stipulation where like Disney's like, you can use our characters, but your game's gotta suck or something. It's gotta be like worse than Snap or something like that. Like, I highly doubt it. But, I highly doubt they'd be that stupid, right? So I'm assuming, I actually think Disney would put in the clause that says, I need a card better than the One Ring. This card better be the cornerstone of your format and be played everywhere. And I could totally believe they put that clause in there and Wizards signed off on it. So, like, I don't want to be upstaged by the One Ring, okay? I want, like, the one of one,
the Eye of Agamotto.
The Power Stones or whatever,
the
right?
Infinity Stones. Oh
yeah.
my God, that could be an Infinity Gauntlet. Oh!
Like imagine the hunt across the multiverse for the Infinity Stones, right? Like, they're going to make them pop off. It's going to be wild. So I am super excited for this.
Comic book variants.
Yes.
Black and white panel background, right? Comic book panels. But then the superhero, the text and the name and stuff, like those are in color. Like,
So how big? This is pretty big, right? Marvel's like, because we've been talking about Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, like what could be the biggest, most impactful universes beyond outside of Lord of the Rings, which we already did. Is this like the Star Wars?
What is a
level,
Lord
like
of the Ring?
Is this like the S tier though? Like, is this as big as it gets?
Like Spider-Man?
Okay. I'm gonna show you something right here.
Star Wars could be up there. What else could be left up there?
Okay.
But this is not Doctor Who or something. This is an actual like game changer as far as the size of the IP.
This is Lord of the Rings down here, right? This is Marvel up here, right? So, like, even though I'm using Marvel to represent Lord of the Rings, that's right, Lord of the Rings fans. Like, true cinema is back. Real cinema is back.
I know nothing about them equally.
I'm pretty sure Marvel movies rake in way more than Lord of the Rings did, right? I don't know. This is probably.
You can
probably look it up because Avengers Endgame or something was the biggest movie or something of all time.
Endgame. To put this in context, Endgame came out in 2019, $2.8 billion in global revenue. To put that in context, Magic last year celebrated Magic as a whole making $1 billion for the year. So this one Endgame movie was roughly like 3 times the best year of Magic for a single movie. So I guess Marvel's way bigger than Magic at this point. Do you think will this bring people in? Are we going to see new? Is this a thing that gets like, we talked about the Pokemon cards at McDonald's or whatever. Like, is this the thing that does that for Magic that makes it actually mainstream and then not this like fringe thing? Like, is this the thing that mainstreams Magic?
Let's be honest here. There's a ton of Marvel games that have come before, right? We're talking like Marvel Versus. We have all these just random Marvel games that just weren't that good, right? And I'm sorry, Versus enjoyers, but let's be real, right? Like let's be real. I get it, but they just weren't good. And now you have a proven game system, like a core gameplay system that is good. I this is the power of what I think. This is where Magic is. Oh my God, they've got a tried and true, a proven good game, and now they've learned how to add IPs and make it fit into their game. Like, I think this is huge. I do think this will draw a lot of people into Magic because people have wanted a good Marvel game, not some weird, and like, don't get me wrong, I love Marvel Snap. Marvel Snap's a great game, but like, it's a great game, a mobile game, a digital game, but I'm talking like a tabletop game, because then there's like what these like sleeves are from, Marvel Champions. Fun board game, fun tabletop card game, right? Like, board game night stuff, but like not a game. And Magic will do that.
So let me have the one negative thing here, and I'm curious what you think on this. Is Magic as its own IP going away? Because the thing I noticed in this is Wizards laid out the whole schedule up till 2026, and they announced Final Fantasy for 2025 as a tentpole release. We know what a tentpole release is. It's Lord of the Rings, all the Commander decks, multiple different releases, the whole shebang. Lord of the Rings, the biggest set of the year. So they announced Final Fantasy as the 2025 tentpole Universes Beyond set. This announcement also says that the first of the Marvel releases is going to be a tentpole release in 2025. That would mean 2 Lord of the Rings Universes Beyond level sets in the same year. Do you think we're moving to a world where we're going to be getting like one in-world Magic set a year and just a bunch of Universes Beyond? Or maybe a world where there's 0 Ixalans and Kamigawas and it's all just every 3 months we're going from Final Fantasy to Marvel to Doctor Who or whatever. Like, is that the path we're on? And is that good or bad?
Definitely gonna happen, and we're gonna have this retrospective where like, why did Wizards kill Magic IP? And Wizards like, oh, we didn't want to kill it. And it's literally the same thing with Limited, right? It's not that you explicitly killed it, it's you put all your resources into Universes Beyond, right? Like every year they're like, how do we print more money? Well, last year Lord of the Rings did very well, so what can we do this year? Oh, let's do Marvel. So if once Marvel is done, Star Wars is next, and it's only gonna get bigger and bigger. The big problem is Krim was not hyped to play Magic the Gathering. Krim was hyped about Marvel, right? And in 20 years, when he remembers this moment, he's going to remember Spider-Man he hates Spider-Man, Doctor Strange doing some stuff. And the nostalgia is being attached to Doctor Strange and not Magic the Gathering. Like, that's the biggest problem. We don't have that IP. Like, today, people do all kinds of weird Pokemon things, not because they remembered playing the game. I mean, I'm sure some people do, right? But people remember the IP. They remember the original 151 Pokemon. They remember Pikachu and whatever, and they're attached to that. We don't have that nostalgia, right? And we're actually going further away from that. And when we look back on 2023, we'll be like, yeah, that was the year of Lord of the Rings, not that
Ixalan.
was the year of
or whatever,
Ixalan, or whatever new mechanic came up. I can't even remember, right? Like, what plane did we go to? Who knows? But Lord of the Rings happened, and the One Ring happened, right? So that's the problem. The nostalgia's being carried with other IPs, and they're making it like a bandit. I'm sure Marvel's looking at that One Ring, and they're like, oh, can we sell a $5 million card? Like, maybe they check Post Malone. Do you like Marvel? What character do you like? What would you like to see? And then they want a $5 million serialized card to go and like make all the news, bring all the marketing for Marvel. So yeah, I mean, I think Marvel's getting a great deal out of this. Like they're using our game, and like no one cares about the actual game, right? They care about the IP, so they get us as a free vehicle.
But the game is what would make it better than every other failed game before.
Well, the game needs to be passable, which we would agree that Magic is.
Magic, this game that we're deeply in love with, is at least passable.
Like if it was terrible, it would suck, right? But again, like you're not going to recount the amazing Magic experience. You're going to recount the, I was dead and then I called upon the hammer and thored him out, whatever, right? Like you're gonna talk
it's
about
me all near. It's me all near. All right. Come on, dude.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm Seth. What's the
So is the TLDR short term? This seems like it's going to be a huge boon. Long term, anyone's guess. 20 years from now, like, maybe it's a negative impact 20 years from now on Magic, but for the short term, at least, it should be a huge positive.
what I'm just very curious. How does this feel short term? I feel like this is going to be a long-lasting effect of good things. Like, there's a lot of it sounds negative when I hear like these like short-term things. Yes, I get it. It could be a quick cash grab. Yeah, yada yada yada. Right, but like, this doesn't feel like there's
like
the
you
downside
can't sell the Magic
of Marvel.
game outside of the game. Like, you can't throw the Magic rule set on a cereal box and call it a day. You can't throw it on a pair of toddler shoes and call it a day. Like, have you actually gone into like a Target and looked around? It's all Marvel, right? You're like, that t-shirt is Marvel. That lunchbox is Marvel. That sippy cup is Marvel. The cereal is Marvel. Like, that's what you can do when you have strong IP. But you can't be like, here's, upkeep, untap, like, mana base, and like slap it on a thing and like sell it, right? You have to sell the characters. You need to sell Jace on your cereal box. And without Jace having a presence, you can't like make this free money, right? Like, Marvel made the leap from comics into just generic IP, right? Like, Magic needs to make the leap from card game into generic IP. And it's really hard to do that when you don't have IP. So I would hope they take all this money they're about to make from Marvel and funnel it into that Netflix series and funnel it into, some like actual like writing and somehow develop this IP. But I'm afraid they'll be like, wow, that was easy money. Let's just do Star Wars, right? Like, why bother making Jace cool when I can just have Luke Skywalker and then call it a day, right? And, CEO printing money hand over fist, and then they'll be like, yes, promotion next year. What do you want to do, right? And they just keep getting the hot IP of the year. So that's the fear, that they're not developing their own IP.
That was kind of my take. Oh, go ahead, Grim.
Everybody says that, but let's be real. The IP, they weren't even trying to build. They can't. Like, are you kidding me? Like, let's be real.
But at the same
come
time,
on,
like,
guys.
Remember how you always say though, Magic needs the anime. We need an anime that would really get Magic going. I think like if we trend in a world where we're only Universes Beyond or primarily Universes Beyond, that's just dead, right? You're not gonna. Why would you ever make a Jace an anime or genre anime when your big sets are Star Wars, Marvel, Lord of the Rings? So I think the question is like, is this on top of Magic? Are they still doing 4 in-universe sets a year and pushing that and like trying to also develop that? Or does this just like kind of like play boosters? So does this just kind of push the Magic sets out of existence because Universes Beyond is so popular? There's no point in making Ixalan or Kamigawa and even trying to like have Magic lore because you're going to make 10 times as much by just bringing a Marvel set because the IP is so popular.
I look at it the other way where it would be, oh, yeah, sure. Maybe this feels like that it's like that one meme where I forgot somebody. The point is, it makes me think of the fact, oh god, let me form a sentence here because I am so freaking excited over all this. I think of it in a way where it'd be more along the lines of, yeah, maybe this is somebody sees Magic and they're like, oh, this is that card game. This is that show that is based off the card game that has Marvel in it, right? So just because, like, that'll then bring people to watching a straight up just normal Magic show that's like normal IP if they decided to ever make this anime, right? Like if they ever put out this anime, they'd be like, oh, that's the anime of the Magic like affiliated card game thing.
But wouldn't people just be like, I'll watch the new X-Men or like Marvel? No, like, why would they choose the like, maybe there's a character from this game that put Spider-Man in it that I've never heard of. I'll watch that show over watching actual Marvel. Like that would be or Star Wars or whatever.
The fandoms of these things, let's be honest here. Okay, actually, I do believe that there is a population of Magic players that will only watch and enjoy one thing and that's it, and get like, so that's fair. But I do think that the fact that there's an anime, people won't just choose like the X-Men like over the anime because anime is an entirely different medium. Magic should still have like anime and X-Men are two different things to me. So that's why if they weren't different things, it wouldn't have been a big deal when they made an X-Men anime, and that was huge, although it sucked. this is I don't think you choose one or the other. I think both, like, the fandoms are eating good. You can enjoy them all. Is the end of is.
If that's how it ends up, then I think that's probably good. I think the question is, does Wizards view it that way? Or does Wizards, like the draft booster thing, they're just like, oh, in-universe sets were, market forces have made it so how in-universe sets were going to go away anyway, so we're just going to do all Universes Beyond sets. Like, we just saw this happen with the boosters, so I think that's the question, is 5 years from now, like, what does the product lineup look like? How many in-universe sets even exist at that point? So I hope Wizards is viewing it the way you are, Krem, where they're like, we can do all this super cool Marvel stuff and super cool Lord of the Rings stuff, and we can like use all this new burst of money to make the Magic anime or make the in-universe stuff as good as possible. But I do have a little fear that it would be easy to go the other way and just be like, Universes Beyond is so popular, why even bother, hiring people to make Magic art and design in-universe cards anymore? Because it's kind of like when we make a video. At some point, you're like, you make a bunch of videos that are really popular and they make an unpopular one, and you get the question in your head like, am I going to keep making these unpopular videos when I could just make a popular one that I know people would like? And I wonder if WotC gets to that point and it's like, maybe we just cut the Ixalans of the world because they don't sell as much as the Marvels of the world.
Okay, we're going long, but I got a question for Krim. So Snap, right? They use real comic book art. Like cover art, like real art from comics, right?
Yep.
What if WotC used Magic artists to re-render, Wolverine, Doctor Strange, etc.? Would Marvel ever allow that? And would you want to see that, or do you want to see, the iconic artists and the iconic art and all that? Or do you want to see, I don't know, random hot Magic artists drawing, whatever the latest character is?
I'd want to see all of that. Is that too much to ask? Like, this isn't like some small IP that maybe like 1 to 2 people might celebrate, right? Like this is a very big IP, and like, why wouldn't we want to see like? Okay, I don't know if Rebecca Gay
like
likes,
Who, right? Like they just redrew everyone, like using like, I don't know, right? There's no Doctor Who source material, right? But I guess they could have used photos from the show, but they decided to redraw everyone, and I don't know how people like that. Do people actually like that? And do we want to see a reinterpretation of Wolverine, or do we want to just see classic
literal Wolverine
90s Jim Lee Wolverine like right there? That's it. Like, don't touch it, right?
In reality, I'm going to be honest, I think because of the licensing of the art and stuff like that, I don't know how, how hard are they trying to go, like, when it comes to, like, how much money they want to sink into this, right? Because they'll then have to, buy the licenses to where not only is Marvel, like, selling it out, like, what's their relationship with the artist that made the art, right? Like, so maybe we do, it's more likely that we'll get to see popular Magic artists redo some things, right? Some iconic images and stuff like that. But whichever version of it, all I ask is that it is not arcane. In that, do you remember how the arcane art, right? It was like, it looked like I screen capped a picture, like a scene out of the episode, and then I slapped it on a card, right? It looks almost like a proxy, right? So, but as long as that is what it is, right? Like, that isn't what it is. I don't want it to look like the arcane style art, and the character that's in the card is centered. That's all I care about. Like, that you actually can tell, hey, this is a Doctor Strange card. Right? Not, is that Doctor Strange in the background of this card? Like, but it's a you know what I mean? Like, cause like Arcane felt like it was a really odd looking piece of art. It was kind of bad. Like, right? It
turns out the set is just screen caps of all the movies.
yeah. Okay.
It's like you have the rights to use screen caps from Avengers. That's it. Go WotC.
Oh, remember
the horrendous. That'd be the one way to tank this hard, right? I hope we get early previews somewhere just so that we can be reassured that it's what we're thinking it is, and like not some weird deal that they cut that they like totally got like owned on.
I would be surprised. I'm pretty sure, though, just the way they describe this in the announcement, being like multiple tentpole sets, like this is this sounds like this is going to be a big thing for years, probably, like at least a couple of years of sets of this. So I imagine, just the way they're talking about it, that they went all out on this. I can't imagine that they didn't, especially with what we've seen from past tentpole sets like Lord of the Rings, where they definitely like put a lot of time into making that set. So I imagine this is going to be a big one. So I'm curious, if you're listening, watching this, a place with comments, what do you think about this? Because this is super, super, super huge news. Moving back to the world of the present, though, this is 2025, so that's like still 2 years in the future. We got a Universe Beyond coming out. Well, I guess this is actually like 3 or 4 months in the future, but we got a bunch of Fallout spoilers for some reason. The day after Doctor Who released and the day before Ixalan spoilers, we snuck in a bunch of Fallout cards. We were going to try to like tier list Universes Beyond sets, but I think we're going too long for that. So maybe that's a cast in the future, like a bonus video or something. But let's talk a little bit about these Fallout spoilers before we get to the end of the cast. But I do got to ask you, where does Fallout rank? We just agreed Marvel is like S tier, along with like Lord of the Rings.
Along
Walking
with Lord
Dead.
of the Rings.
Well, I mean, it's the biggest selling set of all time. Like, how can it not
is.
be considered S tier?
This is
Walking
like
Dead
not
is-
even.
Walking Dead's F
ascended
tier.
that.
Okay, so it's S plus. We'll give Marvel S plus.
Thank you.
But if we
Thank
agree
you.
that that's like the top end, bottom end's probably Walking Dead, I would say, or maybe Fallout based on the reaction. Not Fallout. What's one Phil plays? I can't think of the name of it now. The dancing shooting game.
Oh, Fortnite.
Fortnite, yes.
The dancing shooter.
The dancing shooting game.
You play Fortnite, Seth.
That's been a long
That
time.
is
It's been a long time.
One hell of an description, because I did not think Fortnite on that. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Where does Fallout rank? Give me your tier ranking for Fallout as an IP in Magic. Like mid tier?
I mean, so from the way, like, you know, obviously I've never played any of the Fallouts, so you've heard me talk about like how I'm just not excited I didn't really care about the Fallout IP, right? But I am an oddity, because I feel like when you look at the most popular games, like from like 2010 forward, Fallout is under that. Because Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, these are iconic games. This is like
even I played Fallout,
world.
Crib. I think it's the
really?
first time ever that I have played a game and you haven't. Yeah.
Are you trolling?
Oh,
no
no,
way.
I used to play.
I see Crib logged in on Fallout when I log into my Steam account. What is this?
First
Hold on.
off,
What's
okay,
going on?
let me elaborate now on that. I started playing because I was like, okay, well, it's getting a Magic set, and this game was popular enough to where it only took getting a Magic set for me to finally be like, oh, okay, I'll try it.
Are you playing like the Vegas one, whatever, Vegas, Las Vegas?
Yeah.
That was the one that that was the main one that I played. That game's actually like, for its time, it was like a really big game, and it was actually pretty fun.
It still holds up, and that's kind of like the graphics, you could tell they're from 2010, but like the gameplay, right? But oh my god, I got hit with a load.
Blows my mind that Seth played some AAA game.
I know. What are the chances?
It
Dude,
blows my mind.
I got hit with a load screen, and I was mind blown. I was like, what the hell is that? Oh my god, it's a load screen.
I feel like it fits in Magic better than I remembered that it would. Like, the zombies kind of fit. The mutant, just looking at the cards we've seen spoiled so far, maybe it's just because it's compared to Doctor Who, because that's the most recent set, and Doctor Who's like about as far away from Magic as we've gotten for a Universes Beyond. This one, though, it looks pretty Magic-y, right? Like, I could see this being just like a in-universe Magic set for the most part. Like, there's some weird, treatments or whatever that are very Fallout-y, but zombies and mutants and dogs, like, that's all pretty Magic-y.
I mean, at this point, I'm not. Are we even asking, is this Magic-y anymore? Because I feel like everything is possible now. Universes Beyond truly living up to its name. So yeah, I think it is Magic-y. It's not like, I don't bat an eye. I don't think it's weird.
Wait,
I now know what VATS.
You think a British guy eating a sandwich was Magic-y?
Yeah,
that British guy eating a sandwich
changed
is
my
not
opinion
Magic-y.
on this. I look at Doctor Who cards and I'm like, they're so out of place. Like the art style and the settings. And I watched more Doctor Who episodes, by the way. And like, there were a lot of mental gymnastics needed to fit this in the world of Magic. Like the horror aspects, or like the kind of like the fantasy aspects, are very minimal in the set, and they don't really feel as Magic-y. When I look at the Fallout cards, I'm like, okay, this is like giving me the vibes of like futuristic thing that fits in Magic. It's like kind of like Warhammer, where you're like, what does space got to do with fantasy? But you look at it and you're like, actually, it kind of fits and it doesn't look out of place. Seth is dead on with like just random British guys standing there and like, it's like we had like the Office Magic the Gathering. I'm sure we can make it work, right? But you're like, I don't get why.
I love it,
but sure, right? Like that's Doctor Who to me, right? Like I'm like I don't really get it. It doesn't seem to fit, and the cards look weird. But I think Fallout is pretty on flavor.
I think that only feels that way because y'all didn't like Doctor Who until like that much, right? Like until like
I've never even played Fallout. I'm worse than Seth here. I'm like, what's a Fallout?
No, I mean, like for me, who's watched a good chunk of Doctor Who, I didn't think it was any weirder than anything else. I mean, yeah, like I get it. I get what Seth is bringing up. Like, yeah, it's just like a dude standing there, right? Like and he's not even looking menacingly.
No, he's eating a sandwich in his garage. He's moving his chair slightly to the left.
That's like the camp and the humor of like why I like it, and the way the art looks, it has this like little like blur, like there's this grainy look over it. That's like the BBC filter, like because if you watch Doctor Who, that's like the filter, right? Like it looks like it's got that gradient, like weird look on it, but I don't know. So to me, that wasn't that weird.
Let's talk Doctor Who. Let's talk Fallout cards, okay? Let's see if you guys remember any of these characters. This is all foreign to me. Dr. Madison Lee is Jeskai, 3 mana. So blue, red, and white. 2/3, legendary creature, human scientist. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, you get 1 energy. Tap, pay 1 energy. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains trample and haste until end of turn. Tap, pay 3 energy, draw a card. Tap, pay 5 energy. Return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So speaking of broken resource systems, energy is back.
Yeah,
is this card broken in any way? Is it fine? I see energy on it. I get worried. Is this okay?
Is energy broken in 2023, Richard? Let me ask you that.
So remember,
of all the things,
this is not 60 card legal, so it's just commander precon. So in the context of like being a commander, I think it's perfectly fine. Energy is like pretty janky in commander, isn't it? I don't know if I've ever played against a dedicated energy deck in commander at this point. So
Tomer,
did Tomer play energy?
The one commander clash there was energy.
Oh right, yeah. See, that doesn't even count though. Even Tomer didn't actually really play a dedicated energy deck, even though he was supposed to. But like, I think it's cool to have an energy commander. I saw like Aetherworks Marvel like got bought out this week because of this card, so people seem hyped for it. So I think it's cool to have an energy commander. I think if it was 60 card legal, it would probably still actually be fine. Like it's a 3 mana 2/3 legendary. How busted could it be? But I think it's a cool card.
I think it's fine. Like I don't know if it's busted. It just looks fine. This isn't the card that I'm like, wow. You know what I mean? Like this. For me, it's actually the kill spell. It's Vats, which I learned what that is
card
this week.
Horrible? Isn't that like the worst card of all time?
It's cool.
It's 4 mana, split second in black. Choose any number of target creatures with equal toughness. Destroy the chosen creatures.
Isn't that stone unplayable? Would you put it in your deck? I think that card's stone unplayable at first glance.
I would try it. It's split second. It's got, which makes sense because that's flavor wise. Like I mean, I guess maybe
Krim
it's
loves
not
Wrath so much. He even loves the ones that don't actually really kill much of anything.
hey.
I mean, 4 mana split second kill 1 creature.
It's spot removal.
Horrendous. That's like kind of okay. And then if you can like sweep up a whole bunch of stuff.
I mean, I guess it's good against decks like spewing a bunch of the same token or whatever, like something like that.
And it's split second, right? So you can't like phase out, you can't protect your creature. So if your creature does not have hexproof, like it's gone. So do we have a split second removal spell already, Krim?
We do. We have, well, like for enchantments and stuff like that. We have Krosan Grip and things like that.
For a creature.
For creatures, there's sudden spoiling. That's like removal, right?
That makes everything 0/2s, right? Something like 0/1. So if you do it during combat, you can get some. I know we have some like targeted split second removal. Yeah, maybe it's better than. Maybe it's slightly better than I think. I saw a bad Wrath, but if you put it in the context of like, it's a targeted removal spell with upside, then I can kind of see. There's so many options these days. I still don't know how often it would make my decks.
Second is underrated and that we should be playing a lot of split second cards. Like,
and the phase out meta.
So I'm willing to
true.
try VATS here. Just 4 mana, split second kill something, and upside of just randomly tagging a bunch of stuff.
I have
Also,
a card I get it. Oh, go ahead, Grim.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe it's the same card, but I think there is a card that will actually, like, if we're talking about just, again, which we are, sheerly power level, there's a blue card that looks very, very good.
What blue card do you like, Grim?
Rad Storm, which I found out what rad stands for, because when I think rad, like rad, dude, but like, no,
radical, gnarly.
Yeah, like radical, gnarly. Yeah, no, I found out
4
Rad
mana
Storm.
instant storm proliferate.
Yeah. And then, yeah, that's it. Storm and proliferate. Blue instant. Good God, this is sick. It also stands for radiation, by the way. I think that's what rad is.
So how much does proliferating cost? 3? Is it 2 mana now? They got it down to 2 mana, right? Just a spell that proliferates. So you're paying like double for the storm aspect. It seems like that's probably worth it in a Super Friends deck, some sort of counters deck. Like, that's probably the biggest upside is you jam it in your Super Friends and try to like ultimate your Super Friends right away or something. Like, that's probably pretty busted in the right deck.
Yeah, like this is not like an every deck card. It's very specific, but like what a deck that wants to like proliferate is gonna love this, right? Like, now we get a chance to just play Prologue to Phyresis once and win faster.
I gotta ask Richard about this card because it made me think of him when I saw this, and I need to know if you think this card is actually good. And that card's Over Encumbered. It's a 2 mana white aura. It enchants a player, an opponent. When it ETBs, that player gets a clue, food, and a junk. A junk is a new artifact token that you can pay 1 sack and you get to like impulse draw a card for the turn. And then it says at the beginning of combat on enchanted player opponent's turn, that player may pay 1 for each artifact they control. If they don't, creatures can't attack this combat. So you give this to the person with the scary board. It gives them these 3 somewhat beneficial artifact tokens, but in theory, they're going to have mana rocks. You put it on the artifact deck, and it just essentially locks someone out of combat for as long as it sticks around. Is that worth?
No, this card's trash. Are we using it as some weird political thing where you're like, I'll give you a clue and you help me because it's... So clue to crack is 2 mana, food to crack is 2 mana, junk is 1 mana. So you can get rid of all the artifacts that they give you for upside. And then like say you don't want to, you just pay 3 and you smash their face, right? It's just 3 period. Yeah, they can just attack. It's not like per creature or anything.
No, it is one time, yeah.
I think this is terrible. And like the person that has a lot of artifacts is like the treasure deck. And they'll just get rid of their treasures. Everyone else will just like pay 5 and they see it coming, right? Like it's sitting there. They're like, okay, if I want to lethal you, I gotta have like 5 mana or something and then I can do it. So I actually think this card's trash. Is it good?
Cool. I was thinking it could be good to like shut down. So it's a weird card because I don't.
We're talking about Commander, right?
Yeah. So obviously Commander.
So.
It's got to be. It's only legal in Commander. I think.
Are you metagaming your pod against the artifact player?
I mean, I'm thinking though, like
you should.
I've seen Ghostly Prison be very effective at getting people not to attack. And then this triggers on any artifact. Everyone's playing mana rock. So if it's like pay 3, pay 4 to attack, I don't know. Like, is that enough? I don't like that you're giving your opponent.
Though.
It is only one person.
It doesn't affect everyone.
And you are giving them beneficial things,
like,
which
I think
is
I want
awkward.
you to cast this on me. Like I'm like, give me the clue.
Is it actually a secret rendezvous? Yes. Is this maybe it's actually helping the opponent?
Political thing where you're like, cast it on me, and I'll do you a favor because I want this on me.
I just like the idea of like the person plays Dockside and then you play this and you're like, haha, you're not attacking. But then I guess you're right. They just sack all their treasures and combo off and kill you. They rad storm you.
If they play Toski or something, right? And like they want to attack every turn, but they can't until they deal with this. But that's not worth a card slot, is it?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, actually, man, the more we talk about it, maybe it's no fog. I'll say that. They see it coming.
No. No. You will not ruin my good day with your fogs.
What Marvel character would best represent a fog? That's all I want to know. I don't know anything about X-Men, but there's got to be a fog X-Men, right? What's the fog X-Men? Anyway, I think that is all the cards we have time for today. Richard, no fish mail today, but we might get to him next week. So if people want to send him in, how should they do that?
All right, hit us up on Twitter at MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air.
And I believe that brings us to the end of episode 456 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. So Richard Krim, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And we'll be back next week to talk about Ixalan spoilers and whatever else goes on in the world of Magic. So until then, have an amazing week, everyone. And this is the crew signing out.